Alright, let's jump right into this explainer. Picture a civilization from around 2000 BC that was, according to historical and religious texts, entirely unmatched in its physical beauty, wealth, and sheer power. We are talking about the Qaum-e-Aad, or the people of Ad. This is a story that bridges ancient history, archaeological mystery, and some seriously profound moral lessons. It's a compelling look at a society that had absolutely everything: abundant resources, incredible architectural technology, unmatched physical strength, yet they ended up entirely erased from the map.
So here's the million-dollar question we're exploring today. How does an incredibly robust and mighty nation literally vanish into thin air? According to the source material, after the devastation of Noah's flood, the earth was repopulated, and the Qaum-e-Aad emerged as the absolute apex of human civilization. They were known for striking physical appearances, fair complexions, and a level of prosperity that literally no other nation possessed. Yet today, they're just gone. How does a society that invincible just disappear?
Part 1. The Rise of Qaum-e-Aad.
According to historical and genealogical records, they were the fourth-generation descendants of Prophet Noah's son, Sam. A man named Ad from this lineage grew in prominence, and his descendants eventually became famous as the Qaum-e-Aad. And their scale? It was absolutely astounding. They lived in towering palaces resting on massive pillars that had no equal anywhere in the world. Their capital city was called Anjaam. And actually, this isn't just a myth. In 1984, using radar technology from the Space Shuttle Challenger, archaeologists actually discovered subterranean traces of a magnificent ancient city in this region, featuring the very pillars described in those ancient texts. It was a civilization totally defined by its monumental architecture.
To really put this into perspective, think about the dramatic contrast in their geography. Back then, the region stretching from Oman to Yemen was a literal utopia of blooming gardens and sweet water streams. But today, it's known as the Akfaf Desert. It is a terrifying expanse of 6.5 million square meters of fine white sand, with dunes that look like mountains. The sand is so fine that anything dropped into it disappears in minutes. This stark transformation is just a wild testament to their complete downfall.
Part 2. Shaddad's Earthly Paradise.
At the very top of this sprawling empire was their ambitious and immensely powerful leader, King Shaddad. Driven by a massive ego, he heard descriptions of paradise in the afterlife and basically decided, you know what, I don't want to wait. He wanted to build his own heaven right here on earth to convince people to choose his tangible paradise over any promised afterlife. He picked a vast desert area in Aden, and for an astounding 300 years, generation after generation, labored day and night on this monumental vanity project. When it was finally completed, it featured breathtaking palaces, artificial rivers, and a massive fortified wall with 30 towering minarets.
But here is the ultimate tragic irony of it all. Shaddad, who lived to be 900 years old, never even got to step foot inside his completed masterpiece. Just as he and his kingdom's chiefs arrived at the grand gates of this earthly heaven, divine punishment struck. They were buried alive right there in the earth, and his magnificent city was swallowed by the ground. His incredible wealth and 300 years of effort amounted to absolutely nothing in a matter of seconds.
Part 3. Prophet Hud's warning.
Despite all that physical might and architectural wonder, the people of Ad had fallen into deep spiritual blindness. After Noah's flood, humanity had largely remained monotheistic, but the Qaum-e-Aad became the very first nation to deviate from this, entirely consumed by the material world. They plunged headfirst into idolatry, worshipping distinct deities made of stone, like Sada, Samud, Sawa, and Yagus. To correct this, a prophet named Hud was sent to them. And he wasn't an outsider, by the way. He was from their most respected and noble branch, the Khulud. Prophet Hud came to them with a pretty simple message. He gently reminded them of their blessings and warned them not to repeat the mistakes of the past. But the tribal leaders, they didn't just disagree, they insulted him. They called him a fool, a liar, and claimed he had been driven completely mad by their stone idols. They completely closed themselves off to any spiritual course correction, deeply entrenched in their ancestral tradition.
They were just so blinded by their wealth. With their 13 thriving tribes and muscular physiques, this arrogant claim became their collective mindset. They literally looked around at their lush farms, their massive palaces, and their physical dominance, and loudly asked, "Who is greater than us in strength?" They challenged Prophet Hud, basically daring him to bring forth the punishment he was warning them about, completely confident that nothing could ever touch them.
Part 4. 3 years of drought. So, when they consistently rejected these warnings, the divine response didn't come as some sudden, fiery explosion. Actually, it was a slow, agonizing withdrawal of nature's blessings. After Prophet Hud finally prayed for assistance against a relentless mockery, angels were commanded to halt all rain and dry up the springs. Almost overnight, the lifeblood of their thriving civilization was cut off.
Just imagine that for 3 agonizing years, they had to watch their earthly paradise literally wither to dust. Their beautiful gardens? Barren. Their livestock, which was a massive source of their wealth, died off rapidly. Yet, even as they fell into severe despair and poverty, their arrogance remained completely intact. Prophet Hud continually offered them a way out, promising that if they just sought forgiveness, the skies would open up and their strength would increase. But no, they stubbornly refused, clinging to their idols.
Part 5. The Deception of the Black Cloud.
Okay, so picture this timeline. They are completely desperate after 3 years of suffering. So 70 tribal leaders, led by Qaum bin Anbar, travel all the way to Mecca. Even as a polytheistic society, they believed the Kaaba was a sacred place where prayers in times of extreme hardship were answered. They were welcomed warmly by the ruler, Muawiyah bin Bakr, and for an entire month, these leaders stayed there, praying desperately for rain. They were completely unaware of the devastating trap they were setting for themselves.
And this is where the ultimate deception happens. While praying, 3 distinct clouds appeared above them, white, red, and black. An unseen voice asked them to choose. Driven by greed for the heaviest possible rain, Kyle chose the thick black cloud. Instantly, the voice revealed the chilling truth. He hadn't chosen rain. He had chosen total annihilation.
Meanwhile, back home in the valleys of Aad, the people see this massive dark cloud rolling in. The sheer psychological terror here is wild. They actually started dancing and celebrating, thinking their 3-year nightmare was over. But it wasn't a rain cloud. It was a furious, howling wind. The source notes that the gap opened in the sky to release this wind was only the size of a small ring, yet the pressure and power it unleashed were catastrophic.
For 8 days and 7 continuous nights, this relentless wind battered the civilization. It wasn't just a storm, it was an apocalyptic event that lifted people into the air and dashed them against the ground. It completely obliterated their massive palaces, tore through their caves, and leveled their mountains. By the time the wind finally stopped, the invincible Qaum-e-Aad was entirely wiped from the face of the earth, leaving only Prophet Hud and his small group of believers alive.
Part 6. Lessons for Us.
This story was actually so profound that it echoed through generations. It is recorded that when dark clouds would gather, Prophet Muhammad's face would show signs of anxiety. When his wife Aisha asked why he didn't rejoice at the prospect of rain, he replied with this exact quote. He lived with the constant, cautious awareness of how a seemingly invincible people were wiped out by a sudden deception.
So what does this all mean for us today? Ultimately, this history highlights a very grounding reality. No amount of worldly success, financial wealth, or technological and architectural advancement can protect a society that completely loses its moral and spiritual compass. The people of Aad had it all, but their arrogance blinded them to the reality that everything they had was a gift that could easily be taken away. History isn't just there to entertain us, right? It's there to instruct us.
I'm going to leave you with this thought to really chew on. In our modern pursuit of wealth, towering cities, and personal strength, are we accidentally mirroring the Qaum-e-Aad? Take a second to examine your daily actions, both individually and as part of a larger society. Ask yourself, what kind of foundation are you truly building your life upon?